Plane chase, place, chase, play chase, plane chase. Hello, and welcome to Temple of the False Pod, where our decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
Almost!
And you won't ever get that joke. Welcome to season 11. 11? This is episode 101. It's very cool. I am thrilled to be beyond that threshold. That milestone. It's been a wild journey getting here, and this season's going to be full of some wild things. I just realized that because we do 10 episodes on and 2 episodes off, or 2 weeks off, it comes out to about a quarter of a year. So this is our spring quarter. In fact, our last episode of this upcoming season is the first day of summer. So, something to look forward to when we get there.
There we go.
We're bringing the show on the road in a couple weeks, by which I mean I'm bringing my recording equipment to Bruce's.
Getting back to our roots.
You can tell it's spring because my voice is slightly hoarse because allergies. But hey, I don't know if you knew this, but as of recording in a couple weeks, we've got March of the Machine release.
Yes.
And I think it comes out between this episode and next. And with that is the March of the Machine Commander decks, which today were previewed. And so we had to rush to our computers and, we had scheduled time to talk anyway. So we're going to talk today not about the Commander decks, but about what comes with the Commander decks, which is...
Planechase, baby!
Planechase! Our favorite format variant. You can just add it to any game. And if you don't know what Planechase is, I've got a link right here. I don't know if it's actually going to be on screen or down below. It's definitely going to be down below, for sure. We have a whole episode about Planechase. I'm sure we have 2 at this point. As a quick rundown, basically you've got a stack of planes, as seen here. I've got a picture of one right here. And they act as essentially world enchantments, which is... I'm not going to get into. And once per turn, you roll a die, and you can either... there's a high chance that you're going to not do anything, but there's also a chance that chaos ensues, is what they call it now, which is cool, I guess.
Sure.
Or you can get the planeswalk symbol and go to a new plane where a new effect happens. So with the March of the Machine Commander decks... They've made 25 new planes. 5 new ones for each commander deck.
Yes.
And we just wanted to kind of look at them and, react to them. Because we're just plane chase junkies. Plane heads. Is that what we call ourselves now? Plane heads?
Plane chasers?
Plane chasers. That's much better.
There we go.
There's been... countless nights where our play group just goes plane chase, plane chase, plane chase, plane chase. In fact, if you want to join me, maybe this is how I'll introduce the episode. Plane chase, plane chase, plane chase.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we wanted to take each episode and talk about a handful of the new planes, kind of look at them, deconstruct them a little, talk about the relevance, how excited we are. There's going to be some that we don't care about, and we'll move right past.
Yeah.
And we predict this will probably be about 3 episodes. So that's exciting.
Yeah, we predict this will be insert correct number of episodes here.
Yeah. Which is funny because I probably won't even have gotten to the end of it by the time I edit this, but we'll see.
So, just something quick before we get started. Every plane, essentially, there's the ability on the plane. Now, that just reads whatever it reads. Sometimes it's when you planeswalk there. Sometimes it's on upkeep. Sometimes whatever the variation. That's just what happens on the plane. Then there's an ability, and this is the chaos ability, or as it's termed now, when chaos ensues. Now, you're rolling a 6-sided die. Now, your die has the Planechase symbol on one side, the chaos symbol on another side, and then 4 blank sides. So you roll that, and you can roll that on your turn or not. So you have a choice, and if you roll it and you get one or either the chaos symbol, then you do chaos, and you get the Planechase symbol, you get to planeswalk away to the next plane, which, as far as the way we're going to discuss it, we're going to discuss it as though you don't know what the next plane is. So we're just going to look at each plane completely separate. I just want to make sure that everybody understands how it works on your turn. The other key part to remember is if you would like to roll the plane or die again on your turn, you get 1 free one, and then you pay a tax of 1 on every other roll, but the tax is cumulative. So if you want to roll a second time, you pay 1. If you want to roll a third time, you pay 2. You want to roll a fourth, pay 3, etc. for your turn. So if you either really hate where you are and you want to planeswalk away, or maybe you really want to roll the chaos part, you can pay extra to keep rolling. And I have found in our games that depending on your deck, oftentimes you're going to spend the rest of your mana just rolling the planar die again, just to change whatever the current situation is.
Yeah.
And
I think too with that as well, just keep in mind there are plenty of ways to play Planechase. We've seen, I think the original is, and the quote unquote intended way is that each person has at least a 10 card deck of planes or phenomenon. There are no new phenomenon, so we're not going to talk about them here. And when you roll planeswalk, you flip over the top one.
Yes.
The way most people play is a deck in the middle, and we all flip from one deck. Which,
big stack of cards.
Makes it a little bit easier so that nobody's making their prime deck of planes and...
Right. And I will say the other variant to consider, and I'm going to lump pretty much all of them up in one, is you reveal some number of the planes.
Mm-hmm.
Or some variation of that, and choose one of those.
Right.
So you get a little bit of control as far as where you're going. And some people like that, and some people much prefer the chaos of just flipping the next one over for Planechase. So you end up walking into a plane that you can't stand. But that's sort of the model. So
yeah. So I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way because we will not be discussing how well certain things are in, if you're trying to build the optimized, deck for yourself. This is, everyone plays the same deck, just flip off the top. And it's great.
We're just checking out the new cards.
Now that we're well into our episode, let's get right into the first one. We've got Enigma Ridges. Enigma Ridges is on the plane of Acquire. Acquire. Echo ear.
Sure. Equire. Eachwar.
I don't know.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think Acquire sounds great.
I don't know too much about this plane. I'm sure we've heard tale of it minorly. But it says when you planeswalk to Enigma Ridges, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches their library for a number of basic land cards less than or equal to the difference, reveals them, puts them in their hand, and then shuffles. And then the chaos ability is whenever chaos ensues, draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So that second one, or that chaos is just what is it? Growth spiral. It's pretty nice to have for potentially free. And especially if you just got a handful of land because of the planeswalking ability. I think that that has the potential too to like fill up your graveyard, if that's your thing. Because then you'll have
certainly can.
Yeah.
Just on the straight of it, this is a great plane for no other reason than it puts everybody in the game. Somebody's getting mana hosed. They're way behind. They've fallen way behind on land. Well, now they get to have their land drops every single turn, because now they're going to have a mitt full of cards, and I love that about this. The interesting part from the chaos is whenever chaos ensues, draw a card. Now, just stop there. Chaos, draw a card. That by itself, I mean, you're getting to draw the card for chaos. That's more than enough for me. But you add in the idea that you're going to be able to play an extra land. So I think that's great. I did find it interesting. Now, this is the first card we're previewing, but this is a plane where something happens when you planeswalk there, and then nothing happens. This card doesn't do anything on each person's upkeep. It's not a recurring thing. It's not.
It's not even a static ability. Yeah.
Right. It's nothing. You get there, you do something, you're done. To me, why isn't the chaos ability is the only reason that this isn't a phenomenon.
Right.
I think that's an interesting setup. So
I think it's definitely like a nice plane for those people who have never played Planechase before and they're like hesitant.
Yeah.
I think it's nice because, like I said, it does like fill up your hand maybe more than you can hold. But I think that like if somebody's that far ahead that you've now like 8 or 9 cards in hand, like it's needed. And I like that the chaos is still like the chaos generally will somehow refer back to whatever the plane's ability is. Yeah. And this is like a nice way to deal with that. But it also doesn't shut out the person with the highest number of lands on board, like because they can still draw a land and then they'd be able to play it. I do like that this also just ramps.
Yeah, and there's nothing saying the person with the most land doesn't still have extra lands in hand. I mean, if you've ramped and that's sort of the way it went. I keep looking at this and I think to myself that what I would have preferred to see here would be when you planeswalk or on your upkeep, if you control fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands, you search your library for a number of basic lands, less than or equal to the difference, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle. That way, you're the only one getting the benefit when you walk there. But on each person's upkeep, they're then going to get that benefit, assuming that they don't have the most number of lands.
I like that.
But when it comes back to you, you're still not caught up. So in theory, you could do it again. So even if you're only like 2 lands behind, if you stay on this plane for a full circuit, you're going to get to find 2 basics, and then on your next upkeep, find 2 more basics. The other part is these are basics.
Yeah.
Your deck doesn't have more than 5 or 8 basics. I do think this is fun. This is definitely an interesting setup. I don't think a lot of the planes in the past have been set up so you want to roll the die or you don't want to roll the die. And usually it's you either want to roll chaos and you don't want to leave, or you want to leave but you don't want to hit the chaos.
Right.
So there's always a push and a pull as to whether or not you want to roll the die. With this,
there's no reason not to.
No, unless you're well ahead in the game and you're not interested in the game continuing to be a plane chase game.
Right. I would say
then,
with your updated one, it at least gives you that like, do I do this pre-combat? Do I do this post-combat? Do I do this at all?
right.
And like, there's almost no benefit to not doing it,
Well,
because it's done. Is the thing.
Yeah. There's rarely going to be a time when there's a downside that you're not going to want to roll the plane or die.
That said, I like this one.
So, yeah.
I hope to see it.
Yep.
Up next, we have a place we have been, which is Alara, and the Shard, I guess, of Esper.
Yes.
Do you want to read this one?
Sure, I'll read this one. So this one's pretty straightforward. Artifact spells cost 1 less to cast. Period. That's what the plane does. Now, the chaos effect is whenever chaos ensues, creatures you control that are white, blue, and or black become artifacts.
Colors.
Exactly. Become artifacts in addition to their other types until the end of the turn. Then, each artifact creature you control gains vigilance, menace, and lifelink until the end of the turn. So, they don't tap, they're harder to block, and you gain life when you swing.
It's astonishing.
Yeah.
This feels busted. And it is one of those things where if you are in those colors, great. If anyone at the table is playing an artifact deck, either kill them or get off this plane. Like, those are the two choices. Because one less is very good. Because they're already trying to do that. And then giving their white, blue, or black creatures also being artifacts is pretty good. Giving them vigilance, lifelink, and menace is also very good because it just pads their life total and gives them blockers.
Right.
And I think that like with this, it is one of those things where like you are either having a great time or terrified.
Right. So Andy, if you are running an artifact deck that's, I don't know, let's say you're running white blue artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to roll the plane or die? Because this is what I was talking about just a couple minutes ago. Because you roll the die and you hit the chaos and suddenly you've got a chance to gain a pile of life, do some significant damage, and your creatures don't even tap.
I think
but
the
of course
wild
you take
thing,
the risk of leaving.
Yeah. I think the wild thing too is that chaos ability isn't any target white, blue, or black creature becomes an artifact. It's all of those color creatures become artifacts, and then all of your artifact creatures get all those things.
Right.
So like the payoff is huge. I'm gonna roll.
Okay.
I think mostly because like I think I'll roll after I play the things that I want. I think the fact that this gives your artifact spells 1 less means that you're gonna have more open mana to roll. So like play your artifacts and then roll. If you're in a position that like it would be beneficial to attack with everything, roll, because then I mean the worst that's going to happen at that point is that you just leave. This one's cool.
Right.
I mean it's just it's just like all the other Alara ones where like if you are a creature or if you are a player that's playing creatures of that color, like this is great and the chaos will absolutely help you. You have to weigh whether or not you're in a position that if you leave that plane, are you going to still be okay? So,
something else to consider. Red artifact decks are a little more rare, but they do exist. Maybe if one of my opponents is playing full on Esper artifact, I'll still roll. But if I'm running a red artifact deck, I don't think I'm rolling. I think I'm just going to sit here. I mean, because the chaos is not going to give me a bonus.
Right. Like I think about I think about even my Galazeth Prismari deck where it's blue-red artifacts.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd roll. Like the things will get life and stuff.
Right, because only your blue creatures are getting the benefit.
Yeah.
Because even your, you're right. I kept looking at this with and thinking about treasures and trying to think how treasures could possibly work well with this, but unless you can make them into creatures, then it's not really going to do anything. So,
there are ways to do that. But
we happen to know that Brutiklad is in one of the new decks, and that is a great way to take a lot of treasures, turn them into an artifact creature that suddenly, and then now suddenly you have an artifact creature that has, all of your artifact creature tokens now have Vigilance, Menace, and Lifelink until the end of the turn. So,
Up next, we are revisiting Kaladesh, going to the city of Ghirapur.
I think so.
Cool. I didn't know if it was like a continent or something, but we're going to Ghirapur. The beginning of combat on your turn, until the end of turn, each non-creature, non-vehicle artifact you control becomes a 5/3 vehicle in addition to its other types and gains Trample, Haste, and Crew 2. Which is excellent. If you're somehow on 2 planes at once, this and that last one, you definitely want to roll Chaos. This Chaos ability says whenever Chaos ensues, return target non-creature artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, which that's pretty good. If you're playing any sort of artifacts that are either being destroyed or sacrificed, it gets them back. It's this.
So,
go ahead.
Real quick, this is a plane you're either going to love or hate, because at the beginning of coming on your turn until the end of the turn, each non-creature, non-vehicle artifact. Oh, you mean treasures? So each treasure you control becomes a 5/3 vehicle with Crew 2. At that point, it's just, do you have enough creatures to crew this stuff?
Yeah, a bunch of 5/3s. Even if you're just playing, white weenies or something. A way to just like crew all of them and just go in with 5/3 tramplers is a bit busted. I mean, it's pretty sweet. I think that this plane in particular, or this city, this area of the plane, I think we'll see less unfairness than some of the ones that we've already looked at.
Yeah.
But I think
because the restrictor on it is the Crew 2. You still have to be able to crew it. So, even someone who has 15 treasures, okay, great, you have 15 vehicles, but you still have to be able to crew them all. But, man, it's going to happen.
What I like about this, and we probably have already heard more of the story, and I think we might get more of this during the Aftermath part. These work really well with the pilots from Neon Dynasty.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, and from what I like to think where this story is going, is that there's like open portals to each of the planes, and like, you've got all the planes kind of working harmoniously. And so, the idea that a Kamigawan pilot would come over to Ghirapur and pilot these artifacts is pretty sweet, because the pilots, they say crew, like they can crew essentially like as if the crew was one less. So 1/1s would be able to crew 2. But man, I don't think I have much more to say about this.
Right. I guess the one other thing I should say is that the chaos is just plain good for all kinds of decks, because virtually all of us run some kind of an artifact.
Yeah.
And whether it's, whether it's a mana rock that you have to pay to untap, or it's take your pick. There's always something that you're probably going to be happy to have brought back to your hands so you can get another enter the battlefield trigger. I think that that bodes well. So
I think the interesting thing here is that I'm pressed to find a type of deck that would not want to roll here, because you'd either want to roll to leave or you'd want to roll to get the chaos and you'd be fine with either. But there's no deck that wants to stay here. Like if you're a vehicle deck, you're already running vehicles.
Right. I can see it being a benefit through your combat. But realistically, once you've done it once, I don't know that you're going to want to stick around to be able to try and do it again, because most of your stuff is going to be tapped.
I think
all
maybe
those vehicles that you're swinging with are tapped. Everything you use to crew is tapped. This is one big swing kind of place.
I think maybe if your vehicles, like if this made your vehicles like power equal to their mana value or something, maybe. But like I don't know. Then people with big artifacts would want to stay here. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think even like Kaladesh like vehicle stacks don't like this doesn't affect them.
Yeah,
because it doesn't affect vehicles. It's just odd.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's the pilot aspect. I guess in theory, it does give you. If you can crew 2, then it gives you a 5/3 vehicle, which you could then use to crew something that requires a crew that is crew 4 or 5.
Yeah, maybe you're right though. Like maybe the deck that wants to stay here is treasures.
Yeah,
because like you're not going to feel bad about losing a treasure.
Right. I look at this and I think to myself, I've got a number of decks just that run just mana rocks. Mm-hmm. So if I can picture a time when I might have six artifacts that aren't treasures that would become 5/3 vehicles that have crew 2. I think that this can be a beast. So
up next we've got Inys Haen, Plain Cried. From the picture, it looks fairly Lorwyn-esque. You've got a giant tree that kind of resembles the World Tree / Realmbreaker.
Right.
And then like a nice idyllic town on the side of a hill leaning up against it. It says, when you planeswalk to Inys Haen, and at the beginning of your upkeep, mill 3 cards. Cool. Much better than some of the other mill ones that we've seen. And then when you planeswalk away from Inys Haen, each player returns all land cards from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Wow. That's awesome. Whenever chaos ensues, return target non-land card from your graveyard to your hand. Which, I mean, that's great. This may be one of my new favorites.
Okay, so just to be clear, you are going to planeswalk away from this at some point. So all the cards that are in your graveyard will come onto the battlefield tapped when you planeswalk away.
All the lands.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So it's like it's not
I was
super
thinking all
broken.
cards. Yeah, this is going to get back your Fabled Passage, your Terramorphic Expanse,
anything that gets milled.
And the lands you use to search, and anything that gets milled. If you're milling 3 cards, then in theory,
one of them
there should be one land in each of those mills. So if you stick around long enough to go through 2 upkeeps, you should have 2 lands in there, plus maybe 1 or 2 lands that you've sacrificed to get other lands.
Yeah.
And then you planeswalk away and you get all those back onto the battlefield tapped. That's not bad.
I think one of my favorite things about this is that, like, you're milling 3 each turn. That's nothing. You have a 100-card deck. Like, you are not worried about the mill here. It is just as good on the bottom of your library. I mean, unless you're playing Grenzo. But, like, if you have no ways to get things out of your graveyard, it's just as good as being somewhere else in the library, because it doesn't matter until you can't draw again. Like that's mill in EDH is like, it doesn't matter until it's done.
Right. Unless you're dying to mill these cards, I don't see any reason to not roll the planar die.
Mm.
You're going to roll the planar die, and if you get chaos, then you're returning a non-land card from your graveyard to your hand. Sounds good to me. If you roll to planeswalk away, great. Now you're getting all those lands into play. You've milled the 3 on your turn because you did it on your upkeep, and you've prevented other players from getting to do that.
Yeah. And
so why wouldn't you do it? I mean, unless you somehow think that we're going to get all the way back around to your turn so you can mill 3 more cards, come on. That's just not realistic. So roll and get off of there and try and get the benefit for just you.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that that's kind of the thing with this is that, there are other planes that will allow you to interact with your graveyard if you don't already have that in your deck.
Yeah.
So the chances that you go there are there. You may be able to get the things that you milled. So, like, I'm always a proponent of don't get too mad at the mill player. Because, like I said, it doesn't matter till you're dead.
They're filling your library for you, and at some point you're going to be able to do something to get one or more of those cards out, maybe onto the battlefield or into your hand.
Yeah.
Honestly, until you're dead, they're doing you a favor. So,
and you know, we've only looked at 4 of them so far, but I feel like this might be a general consensus going forward with all of them, where they really fine-tuned these so that you, as any player, will always want to be rolling the die. You want to roll the die as many times as possible. And it seems like they really, I don't want to say learned their lesson because they did it right the first time, but they really honed their craft on these ones, in terms of encouraging you to roll, reminding you to roll, whether it's to get away from something bad, get something good, or have the chance of chaos. So
right. Now, I know we're about to go to the break, but just half the fun of Planechase is flipping the card to go to the new plane and see what's going to happen. Whether we're going to get hosed or benefited, or maybe one player gets the benefit or whatever. But the whole point is you want to roll. So you don't want to get to a plane where you don't want the chaos, so you don't want to roll. And you want to stay where we are, so you don't want to roll. You always want to have at least one part of that card say, don't you want to roll? Don't you want to roll? Because that's the whole point. The whole point of Planechase. Planechase is adding chaos to your game. Well, then let it add chaos to your game. Encourage players to roll the dice.
Yeah. Remind them.
Or
put a die on top of your deck.
Oh, yeah.
And if somebody passes the turn to you and you haven't picked up your card yet to draw, and they're like, oh, actually, I want to roll. Let them.
Yep.
We're going to take
let them roll.
We're going to take a break real quick. We're going to come back with 4 more of these. I'm so excited, but I have to use the bathroom. So we'll be right back.
This episode of Temple False Pod is brought to you by the Ghirapur Travel Board. Come check out our cool rides.
See that sword? It's a car. See that rock? It's a car.
Welcome to Kaladesh.
See that citadel? It's a car. See that helmet? It's a car. See that immovable rod? It's a car.
That would be a stick shift. Oh!
It's also a dud. It doesn't go anywhere. All right, we're back. Thanks to the Ghirapur Travel Agency for that one. Talked about some planes because we're just so excited that there's new planes for Planechase. It's been
you bet.
10 years, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And man, I'm just so excited because I know at the beginning of the year we talked about wanting more planes, and I don't think that they had announced it yet.
No.
And then when they did announce it, I think we had another episode about Planechase.
There was dancing. There was dancing in the streets.
We might have even talked about, where we wanted to come back to in terms of new planes before they announced it. But
Yeah.
If you want to see what we predicted for planes, we have a whole episode about what we wanted from future planes. Go check it out. Links in the description. The next one, I remember we definitely talked about the plane. This is definitely not what we had in mind.
No, this is not what we had
But
in
it's
mind.
cool.
But
I like this.
yeah. We're talking about Ketria. It's on the plane of Ikoria.
Mm-hmm.
When you planeswalk to Ketria, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put your choice of a Vigilance, Menace, or Trample counter on target creature you control.
So before we go any further,
Yeah.
what do you think you're gonna choose most of the time?
Depends on the size of the creatures that I have.
I guess that's fair.
If I got something big, I'm probably going to put. I don't know that I'm ever going to use Menace.
Yeah, that's
when I have Trample, unless I'm looking for a single swing and I don't want it blocked at all, and I happen to know that I've got an opponent with just one creature. It just seems so rare.
I think
a lot of the time I'm going to take Vigilance.
Yeah, and honestly, same. Because I think, honestly, I have more ways to give Trample in more decks than I have ways to give Vigilance. And Vigilance is supremely underrated.
Yes, especially if you have a creature that has a tap ability. Vigilance works wonders. You can now swing with it and still use that creature's ability at the end of your last opponent's end step. I think that's a beautiful thing. I will say this may actually encourage me to go out and get those dice that have all of the creature abilities on different sides of the dice, because that would be very handy with this. However,
Infinite Tokens also has those little circle.
The little
tokens.
Circles, yes, those would be good too. So for Chaos, whenever Chaos ensues, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand.
Oh my god.
So we're skipping over the sorceries. We're skipping over the instants. We're just going to play until we hit over the lands. We're just going to find a permanent, the first one, and you can put it onto the battlefield.
So we got what?
Or
creatures, artifacts, enchantments, battles now, planeswalkers.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's it.
I think so. And if you don't want them on the battlefield at that point, you could just put it in your hand. Off the top of my head, of course, I can't think of a single reason why I wouldn't want to put it on the battlefield, but I'm sure there are plenty. I'm sure there are hostile battlefields where if you had a small creature where all creatures are getting -2/-2, there are reasons to put it in your hand. But wow, that is definitely going to make me want to roll all the time. Yeah, and honestly, being on the plane, on my upkeep, I get a benefit. So now, once I've had the benefit on my upkeep, why do I want to stay there? I don't want anyone else to get the benefit, because these are counters. They're going to stay on the creature. And then I can roll to get Chaos to put something else on the battlefield or leave. I like either of those options. And when you realize that Vigilance, Menace, or Trample counter, I mean, your opponent gets to choose what creature that's going on. So, so when I'm deciding whether or not I want to roll again, and I know Andy is up next, and he's got his 6/6 Sun Titan.
Sun Titan.
I don't think I want Sun Titan to have any of those abilities.
Does it not already have Trample? I mean, Vigilance? No, it doesn't.
Well, whether it does or doesn't, I don't want it to have Trample.
I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever played a Sun Titan before.
Fair enough. A dragon.
Yeah.
And he has a 6/6 dragon out. Do I really want that dragon to have Vigilance?
I know, right?
Or Menace?
Oh, God.
Oh, great. So now my 1/1 creature that's up there to chump block your dragon now can't do it.
I mean, that was one of the best things of who's that odd commander?
Yennet.
Yennet, yeah.
Yennet, Cryptic Sovereign, yeah.
The best thing about Yennet is that she has Menace in addition to flying.
Right. Now, again, what we just said was I would always take Trample, and honestly, if you pulled Menace off of Yennet and put Trample on, I think Yennet's better. But there you go.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation, I just think you want to roll every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Again, it's what we were talking about before the break. Is they designed these very well to encourage you to always roll, because this chaos is very good compared to moderate ability, the static ability.
Right.
So what I like about this is that I believe Ketria is the triome of green, blue, red. So it's a teamer. And that ability, the chaos ability, is taken straight from Illuna, Apex of Wishes. Seen here. I've got the card up. It's a legendary creature, beast, elemental, dinosaur. And its mutate ability is the same. Exile cards from the top of your library into exile an online permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. And I think it's just really cool how flavorful that is in this. Ketria.
Very nice.
Up next, we've got Littjara from the cool plane of Kaldheim.
You could even say cold plane.
Yeah. Littjara says when you planeswalk to Littjara and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. It's every creature type.
Yes.
Sure. Whenever chaos ensues, choose a creature type, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control of that type. So even if you're not playing theme decks, you're getting a thing to put +1/+1 counters on when chaos eventually ensues.
Well, basically what this says is, do you have a creature you really want to put +1/+1 counters on? When you roll chaos, you put it on that creature, and you put it on all of the shapeshifters that you have out. Probably one, maybe two. But it just means that that 2/2 blue shapeshifter is now a 3/3, whereas everybody else's is only a 2/2. So, obviously, I think this plane is, with a chaos ability like that, if you've got anybody in your group who's running a goblin deck, or running an elf deck, or running whatever deck, soldiers, take your pick, whatever it is, you got to get the hell out of there. You have to get the hell out of there. You cannot, you do not want to have them roll chaos.
Especially if you're playing that type of deck, you're already playing Anthem effects that pump same type creatures. And the moderate benefit of getting an extra 2/2 each upkeep is pretty nice. Yeah. But it does not overcome the chaos ability. Right. So it encourages you to roll. Because at worst you leave and now you have an extra 2/2.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I like it. And again, I think you want to roll. You want to roll every time.
What I like about this card is that we did see a Kaldheim card before. We had a Kaldheim play.
Yeah, that was
but it was well before we were ever going to Kaldheim.
Right.
Now we know what the place is like. This seems fairly flavorful as well.
Yeah, so. I like it. Very nice. The next one, this is the Megaflora Jungle. We're on the plane of Gargantikar. I don't know anything about the plane of Gargantikar, but I think I know everything I need to know about the plane of Gargantikar based on the name. Each creature with a mana value 2 or less gets +2/+2. So your little stuff is big. For chaos, whenever chaos ensues, create a 1/1 green insect creature token with flying named Butterfly. So as long as you're there, you roll the chaos, you instantly get a 3/3 flyer. Because that's what's happening here. So
I like too that it is still an insect. So your insect strategies still apply.
Yeah.
But it is specifically a butterfly.
Right.
And it has flying.
I will say with the right deck, this is one of those planes where you're not going to roll. Yeah, a lot of your creatures cost 2 or less. You're going to want to stick around. Now, that's not necessary. How many decks is that going to affect? Probably not that many, but if that's you, you're definitely not going to want to leave. I don't think rolling chaos to get a 1/1 flyer, even if it is going to be a 3/3 flyer, means anything, because you probably already have flyers. So I can see you not wanting to roll there. For all of the rest of us, some of your cheaper creatures, which probably aren't doing a whole lot anyway, get a little bigger.
Yeah.
So they do.
It makes it harder for people to attack you, into your Land of War Elf that's a 3/3. I think the thing while the design is less than desired, I think Planeswalking Away is I think because it doesn't do a lot, I think Planeswalking Away is more than enough excitement to encourage you to roll. But I think
this is one of those planes where if it comes out early in the game, when people don't have a lot of mana to spend to re-roll, all it takes is for you to have your 1/1 Soul Warden on the battlefield. Now it's a 3/3. You're getting free hits. You're going to get some free hits early on. And if you happen to roll Chaos to get the Butterfly, well, then you get to swing in the air for 3 damage on the following turn. So
I think what this card does specifically for me is be excited to eventually go to Gargantikar. And I think what worries me about it is the interaction with tokens, because obviously, it makes tokens that are bigger now.
Yeah.
But with copy tokens, it's a little different, and those are going to be the ways. Those are going to be the places you have to pay extra attention to.
Yeah.
Because say I make a token of Sun Titan, or a copy of Sun Titan, it's going to be a 6 mana creature still. There are certain things that would make it not, but in general, your copies are going to be whatever the original was.
Yeah. The ones who want to stay here are the ones who are making, 15 1/1 Sapperling tokens.
Yeah. Or your soldier decks, or like your White Weenie decks,
anything that's producing mass token creatures. So they're not copying; they're just a token creature, because then their mana value is definitely less than 2. So then they'll get the bonus. But Megaflora Jungle, another one, looks like fun, and I do look forward to seeing when this when they try and build an entire set around Gargantikar.
Yeah, I would love to see what else is going on there, because with the Ikoria one, with what was it, Ketria, you have a very specific site. If this was your introduction to Ikoria, you have a very specific site of what Ikoria is now. But it's not representative of the whole plane. So it's cool.
So this is our last one for tonight.
Sure. I think we have time for 1 or 2 more, but we'll see where we are at the end of this one. So next one up is Naktamun. I'm sorry for butchering that pronunciation. It's on Amonkhet. This is notably the home of Samut, the Amonkhet planeswalker. Which is great. Anyway, each creature card in your graveyard has Embalm. Its Embalm cost is equal to its mana cost. Embalming, for those who weren't around in Amonkhet, exile a creature card from your graveyard and pay its Embalm cost. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a white zombie in addition to its other types with no mana cost. Embalm only as a sorcery. So this would actually work pretty well with your Megaflora Jungle. This is pretty sweet. I like Embalm as a mechanic. I hope that we see it next time we go to Amonkhet.
It means you get to do all your creatures twice.
Yeah. It's chaos, of course, flows nicely into the sea of it all. Whenever chaos ensues, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Great for working out what's in your hand, but also great to put cards into your graveyard so you can embalm them. So, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and something we haven't seen on the last couple of cards is this is one where you get that push and pull again. I want to roll because I want chaos, so I can discard a card, but I don't want to roll for fear that I'll planeswalk away.
Yeah.
Because if I want to be discarding so I can play cards from the graveyard, then I don't really want to roll. So
I think it's tough because I think that
pull on this one.
Yeah, I think that the push and pull could have easily gone the other way. I think it would have been more difficult if the two abilities were flipped. Like if it was like at the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card if you do draw a card.
Yeah.
And then if you roll chaos, your creatures get embalm. But I think like at worst, planeswalking away just means that you don't get to kind of cheat it a little, you know?
Right. Something else to keep in mind, the chaos, it says you may discard a card. So you don't have, if you want to keep your cards and you roll chaos, you just don't do anything. So
also, another thing to keep in mind is that if you're putting it directly into the graveyard just to embalm it, just play the card. It's the same cost. Yeah, there's no benefit of it coming out of the graveyard unless you're playing things like Sir Conrad, but just
or I mean, I guess the idea is that if you don't want to discard one of your non-creature cards, because then you can embalm it. But either way, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
I would say that the biggest encouragement to roll would be to planeswalk away, so that your opponents cannot embalm.
Yeah,
because embalming is specifically sorcery speed.
Right.
But
yes,
yeah,
and because it's sorcery speed, you can't respond to the planes. The Planechase dies. So
exactly.
Something you'll definitely want to do before you roll.
I think we have time for one more, and I think it's a good point to finish it, because then we'll come back next week with a very cool one. Up next, we have the beautiful Dominaria, new Argive.
So new Argive on the plane of Dominaria. Whenever a historic creature you control attacks, it gets +2/+2 until the end of the turn. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. I don't know how many sagas are going to be attacking, but there you go. The chaos. Whenever chaos ensues, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a historic card. Put that card in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
At worst, you're shuffling your deck.
Well, I mean, a historic card, an artifact, a legendary creature, or a saga.
Yeah. What are the chances? What are the chances you don't?
The chances are real good you're going to find an artifact.
Yeah.
At worst. Practically speaking, you'll probably have a few legendaries in there somewhere. You probably have a legendary creature that's not your commander that's probably in your library. And yeah, and artifacts, I mean, they're out there. So I don't think that's going to be terrible. And yeah, like you said, worst case scenario, you shuffle. So, Andy, what do you think of the first ability?
Again, I think it's very good with artifact-based decks.
Yeah, because you're looking at, this is essentially artifact creatures and legendary creatures, right?
Artifact creatures, legendary creatures. Your vehicles will be getting bigger.
Okay.
Sagas, I'm sure there are ways to animate sagas.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think that this counts the backside of sagas, like the flip sagas from.
I don't think so. But if all Dynasty. Of your creatures are getting +2, they're all getting +2/+2. Right. So as you say, if you're running a primarily artifact deck, you're getting a pretty significant bonus on the attack. Now, there's no trample, there's no menace, there's no evasion, but
that said, +2/+2 is not a lot. Like it's fine. Like it's, I don't know. It's only a little better than nothing. I mean, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but like unless you have a go wide strategy, this is nothing.
Yeah, you're looking at go wide, or you're looking at Thopters.
Like some sort of evasive, yeah.
Right, because if you've already got a 6/6 legendary creature, well, okay, sure, now it's an 8/8, and that's decent, but that's not game changing. The only time that's ever game changing is if you're doing Voltron Commander, and that extra +2 is going to be, get you that much, get you a turn closer to taking somebody out with commander damage. But
You know what this is good for?
what's that?
Brutaclad. Because all of Brutaclad's tokens are artifact tokens.
Are artifact tokens. So all of the, even just at base, because Brutaclad will make a 2/1 mirror token, which becomes a 4/3 mirror token.
Which is significant.
Which
if
is
you've got
significant.
a wall of them.
Right. Now, the key to remember, and this is true for obviously for every plane, you're not building your deck around this. This is something you're stumbling onto. So if you're running Brutaclad, great. If you're not, well, too bad. I will say, of the first 9 planes that we've looked at so far, it really seems like running an artifact deck is the way to go. There seems to be a lot of planes so far that benefit artifacts. Now, I suspect that that's because we know that at least one of the decks, one of the commander decks, is artifact based. As we go along, I'm sure we'll find that other themes will be coming to the fore. But I think it looks fun, and I can see why you'd want to stay. I can see why you'd want to go. And the chaos is just I mean, sure, there are going to be some decks that really key off that +2/+2, but I think most are going to want to be like, well, you know what, I'll give that up for a chance at chaos.
Right. To draw a card, essentially.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing.
Yes. Right.
And, like, it's nice because it is, like, slightly, restricted draw. Like, you're not drawing a land, unless it's an artifact land.
Right.
Or, I guess, a saga land if you've got Urza's Saga. But
at worst, you're getting your worst historic card.
Yeah. Which is probably
a mana rock.
Yeah. Like a
signet,
rock, I guess.
A poorly timed legend. I don't even. I guess you could hit a legendary land that doesn't really do anything.
Cobbled Wings.
In my deck, in one of my decks, I could see doing this and hitting Tolaria. As my legendary land. So and Tolaria, for those who don't know, taps for blue, or it taps and I believe it's target creature with banding loses banding. Yeah, not that exciting. So,
they did bring horsemanship back, so we'll see.
We'll see. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh God, I can't imagine the mess that would bring. But as we wrap things up, I mean, our next one's sweet, and you won't want to miss it. I mean, if you've been following Planechase at all, you know what it is. I keep hinting at it because I've always loved spatial merging as a phenomenon, which is like the next, like you flip over to, you get 2 planes and then you planeswalk to them both at the same time. The next one, oh man, yeah, no, I can't wait for next week's episode. But I mean, I think the thing with these is we wanted to kind of talk about them separate from really, obviously the reprints ones. We wanted to kind of like, I didn't really read many of them until
right.
This.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sit down and chill and talk to Bruce about, hey, this is so exciting. We're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's what you can kind of expect from this season is just some chill vibes, talking about, the things we love. It's the spring, baby.
You bet.
It's going to be the summer soon. It's getting warmer. We're getting some nice vibes down here in Cali. And I'm excited for the second half of the season. That's all I can say.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, come back next week. We're Temple of the False Pod. Where decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy, and I love Planechase.
I am Bruce, and I love Planechase even more.
Yeah, that might be true. Go play some Magic for me. Come back next week. We're going to talk about 8 more planes that have been revealed. And hey, by next Wednesday, I think. By next Wednesday. In fact, as of airing, those decks with the new planes are revealed in 2 days. So go play some March of the Machine. Get down and dirty. Play some Planechase. Have a great night, and may your 5th land be the temple.
Bye!
Wait, before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. You can reach out to us via email at falsepodmtg@gmail.com or on Twitter at falsepodmtg. Bruce is at ManaBurned, and I'm at Andy Weekend, though you'll definitely notice I use the podcast Twitter far more often. Now that we've got you here, make sure you subscribe, like, rate us on whatever podcast platform you use. It helps us out. It gets us more reach. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like a video there. Leave some comments for more casual enjoyment. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with some more timeless discussions about all things casual. So come hang out, and may your 5th land be the temple. Bye-bye. Should I do my best, Bruce? Bye!